All right, we got our eye on some quarterbacks. Derek Carr is expected to play versus the Bucs, but Deshaun Watson is now out versus the Ravens. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift still dominating the headlines. In fact, Kelce's social media and merchandise sales have exploded this week. Alvin Kamara returns to action after serving a 3-game suspension for violating the league's personal conduct policy. And the Lions made a huge statement versus the Packers on Thursday. So, Mike, let's start with you. The Lions seem to know their identity, right? They're in the trenches, that Dan Campbell, lunch pail in the trenches up front. So week 4, other teams sort of looking to find their identity. What stands out to you?
Well, I think for a lot of these teams, the sooner you figure out what type of offense you want to be, whether you pass balance, whether you run centric, whether you run heavy, like you start to figure out what works well for you. And you look at the Cincinnati Bengals this past Monday, like the minute they started running Joe Mixon, the whole offense changed. It took the press off Joe Burrow, and I think that's a blueprint they can take into today's game. So, once you start to figure out this is my identity, and it usually happen around week 5, week 6, week 7, you know what type of team you're going to be. The more points you're going to start to score, the more games you're going to win.
Love it. So, Jules, what has stood out to you through the first 3 weeks as we head into week 4?
It's got to be Kyle Shanahan's version of the West Coast is transforming the league. Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at it. The top 10 teams that use motion and shifts are 8 of them are top 10 total offense in the National Football League through week 3. And what it does is when you see in the run game, when you use these Y shift, these Z shift programs, there's motions, you create an edge, you create an angle for the offense, you can manipulate defense. In the pass game, when you're motioning guys from stacks to bunches, we all know defenders are the best athletes on the field.
That's a fact.
But they ain't the sharpest tools in the shed. You got to make them communicate. You got to make them communicate.
Hey, we can think on the fly.
You got to make them. But when they don't communicate, what do you see? You see a Tyreek Hill down the middle of the field wide open. You see Deebo Samuel, these two teams that use it very well. And then another thing is with these shifts and motions, it makes the defense have to defend every space of the field. Because there's a guy in the press box when they see a jet motion go by and the defensive end doesn't widen, he's saying, hey, let's run that reverse. So it's making these defenses have to play disciplined, sound defense.
And it's making them declare.
It's making them declare.
Charles, how hard is that to defend when you have so much going on?
It's hard because during the week, you have to figure out, when these guys are going in some of these jet motions, you have to declare whether or not you're going to treat that as a trips when that guy motions over, right? If he gets past the quarterback in the center, all right, now we declare it trips. If they snap the ball before he gets there, do you still declare it as 2x2? So those are things that you have to declare during the week. Communication is so key because you have to know. Because if one guy doesn't get it, like he just said, you got to defend the whole field.
Create some chaos.
You create chaos, and that defensive end has to know: is he going up the field? Is he going out with the jet sweep motion? So there's a lot that goes on.
A lot of confusion.
It's going to be very interesting because there's a lot of smart guys on defense, and it's going to be interesting to see how they counterattack this thing. Because they will find a way.
We saw how confused the Broncos defense was as, the Dolphins hung 70 on them. But what's crazy is the Dolphins now take on Buffalo, and they're the underdog in this game. How is that possible?
Yeah, no, we ain't nobody's underdog. You know what I'm saying?
There's a lot of declarative.
Charles said we, everybody.
Yeah, I'm a Dolphin.
You've been on the Dolphins.
I have been on the Dolphins, man, because I like what they have in the building, and I think Mike McDaniels just uses them well. And when you talk about being an underdog after I just put up 70 points, look, we're number 1 in rush offense. Can I interest you in that? Right? Number 1 in pass offense. Can I interest you in that? We got the best wide receiver in football. You can debate that with yourself. Yeah. And then we got the best offensive mind as a coach. And our quarterback is running for the MVP.
One of the best.
Right now he's the best. We got number 1
Shanahan.
We got number 1 everything in offense. We have the best coach right now, offensive mind, in football. So we are nobody's underdog, Carissa. That's what I'm trying to get across to you.
Fair enough. The top 2 scoring offenses, it's going to be a great game. We will talk more
top 1
about that game in just a second. Somebody get this guy a Dolphins jersey.